Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Positive Action Lesson 96. So, as we all begin to transition back into your tables, you will notice there is an activity on each of your tables. So, for now, the activity is placed face down on the table, so you should be seeing a blank piece of paper on your table. And when it is time, I will ask each and every one of you to flip it over. So I'll give you either a thumbs up or I'll let you know verbally that it's time to flip over the piece of paper. So Positive Action Lesson 96. This particular positive action will introduce the positive actions of acknowledging strengths and weaknesses to gain a greater sense of self. So the learning objectives of positive action, Lesson 96, are to define strengths and weaknesses. So not only are we defining the terms, strengths and weaknesses, but we are also identifying what our strengths and weaknesses are. So as we identify our strengths and our weaknesses, we will plan how to use our strengths to our advantage. We will also plan how to overcome our weaknesses. All right, let's get to it. So let's start off by defining some key terms. So some of these key terms I've actually mentioned in the previous slide. So I mentioned the word strengths, I mentioned the word weaknesses, and I mentioned the word self-concept. So let's go ahead and dive deeper into these concepts and terms. So does anybody know what strengths are? So you can give me an example of what you think strengths mean or a strength that you have. Okay. So strengths are activities or actions that you are good at and make you feel awesome. So for example, if I'm really great at kicking the soccer ball, I can say playing soccer is a strength of mine. Okay? So everybody has strengths. Everybody has something that they're really, really good at. Does anyone want to share a strength of theirs? Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So the next key term that we will be defining are weaknesses. Okay, so the next key term that we will be defining is the word weaknesses. Is anyone feeling brave enough to tell me what they think weaknesses mean, or what they like, or if they can give me an example of what they think is one of their weaknesses? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So I know a lot of times when people think about the word weaknesses, they just see the word weak. So they'll just take that little part of it and they will kind of relate it to something that is bad. A lot of times people will take the word weak and just associate it with bad things, right? But that's not necessarily what weaknesses mean. So weaknesses don't mean something that you're bad at. It just means things that you are still learning and working on. Okay? So the interesting thing about weaknesses is it can sometimes be turned into strengths. And it's important to note that just like everyone has strengths, everybody has weaknesses. So everyone has something that they're still working on, like a goal that they're working towards. All right, great job defining some key concepts so far. There is one more key concept to go over, but before that, I thought we would watch a quick video on strengths and weaknesses. So in this video, which was taken out of the movie, it's a clip out of the movie Jumanji, we will be seeing the character's strengths and weaknesses. So this scene is about four people that got kind of trapped in a video game, and instead of getting trapped in the video game as themselves, they're trapped as characters. And these characters, these individual characters, have both strengths and weaknesses. So these people will work as a team and identify their strengths and their weaknesses and try to navigate out of the tricky situation. I hope everyone enjoyed that video as much as I did. I just thought it was so cool that everyone was able to share their strengths and weaknesses with each other and use their strengths and weaknesses to overcome the obstacles or challenges ahead of them. So we are down to our last key term. So our last key term is self-concept. Would anyone like to guess what self-concept means? Awesome job defining self-concept. So self-concept does mean knowing yourself. Self-concept is how you see your behaviors and abilities. And having a positive self-concept will help you feel confident in your abilities. Feeling confident in your abilities will make you feel proud and happy about your self-image. So we can now see how the terms strengths, weaknesses, and self-concept are all kind of related. So to create a strong self-concept, you have to be able to understand your strengths and then your weaknesses and see how you can kind of make them work for yourself. So remember how I mentioned there's a piece of paper, an activity on your desk that is face down, so you only see the white portion of the piece of paper. Now could everybody turn that piece of paper around for me, please? Awesome. So go ahead and set that piece of paper on your desk and get out a pencil. All right. So can everyone start by putting their name and the date on this activity? Awesome. So for this activity, we will be listing our personal strengths, weaknesses, and positive actions we can take to improve our weaknesses. All right, so let's start with the first box that is on this activity, which are my strengths. So I went ahead and listed 3 of my strengths, which are I am really good at making people laugh. So I think that is a great strength to have because when somebody is sad, I take pride and it makes me feel happy that I can make them laugh. I can turn their day around. When I have a problem, I am really good at coming up with the solution. And lastly, I try to help out when I can. Okay? So I want you all to discuss with the person sitting next to you examples of what strengths are. All right, fantastic job sharing with your neighbors. So next, I will give you about 2 to 3 minutes to write down 4 examples of what your strengths are. And if you need any help with coming up with strengths, let me know. I'll be walking around. All right, great job defining your strengths. So now it's time to move on to box number 2. So box number 2 is weaknesses. So I have provided some examples of weaknesses. So an example of a weakness is that I am still learning a new language. So I am not that good at understanding you yet or the person who is talking to me. Another example of a weakness is learning how to do a TikTok dance, but not being so good at it yet. So can everybody share with the class, if you feel comfortable, a weakness that you think you may have, or something that, well, not a weakness per se, but something that you want to work on, something you want to improve in? Okay, that was very brave of you to share. Thank you so much. And now can everyone on their own piece of paper give me 4 examples of things that you think you can improve in or an area that you can grow in? And if anybody has any questions, please let me know. All right, so we are down to the last box in our activity. So let's plan. Positive actions to improve my weaknesses. So practicing a new skill can make a weakness into a strength. Sorry, y'all. Teacher mistake. I meant to put strength over there. So I'm thinking, what are some ways that I can improve my weaknesses? So I mentioned before that I am studying a new language, but I don't understand everything yet, or I can't really speak this language well yet. But I know if I keep studying the new language, practice talking to the person who knows that language every day, that I'll just get better and better and stronger at speaking that language. So can anybody in this classroom give me an example of how they can improve their weakness? That's a wonderful example. Thank you so much for sharing. So now I'd like to give you guys a little bit more time to think about the positive actions you can make to improve your weaknesses. All right, wonderful job. I'll come around and collect the paper. Thank you guys so much for participating. All right, so let's go over some of the big ideas we went over today. So today we talked about strengths, weaknesses, and self-concepts. And I think it's important to take away that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. So I wanted to bring up that successful people identify both their strengths and weaknesses. So it's important to identify both your strengths and weaknesses so you can use your strengths to your advantage and you can find ways to overcome your weaknesses. So to sum it up, these big ideas will help you develop self-awareness, increase your confidence, help you become more successful, and help you build a strong team. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed that positive action lesson 96 as much as I did. I will be walking around handing out a monster march out for everyone so you can tell me how you feel about this positive action. So if you feel confused, if you are still full of questions, or if you got it, and then you can leave a comment or two. Thank you so much.